This week on Dance of Joy, we remember a time when television doubled as furniture, when MTV played music videos, and when young Imran and young Sofia sat too close to the television all summer long. All that and more as we watch Season 3, Episode 11 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, listener, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. Glad to have you here. My name is Imran. Joining me every week, my one and only favorite sister, Sofia. How are you, Sofia?
What's up, Imran? I'm good. I'm barely here. I'm so sleepy.
Oh, no.
I was up most of the night.
Oh.
First, I was binge watching season 2 of Never Have I Ever.
Oh.
Then I started binge watching the new season of Dave, also season 2, I believe. Then I started binge watching also season 2 of the show Betty on HBO Max. All great shows. I just couldn't stop. There's too much to watch, so I just kept going.
No Great British Bake Off thrown in as a palate cleanser? I'm surprised.
I've already watched all 8 seasons available on Netflix.
Well, this is a problem everybody has now and has been around for a long time. As we will see in this episode of Perfect Strangers, we're up to Season 3, Episode 11, titled Couch Potato.
Couch potato. I have to say for myself, the one redeeming factor is that I don't own a couch.
Oh, so what are you, a chair potato? You're a floor potato? How are you enjoying the television?
I'm a bed potato.
Bed potato.
A bed potato. Because we can do that now because we're in the future.
That's right.
You can watch in your bed.
You can watch anything, anywhere, anytime, whenever you want.
Potato.
It's amazing.
But in 1987, just a few days ahead of December 2nd, when this episode aired, if you would open the TV guide, you would see the description for this episode, which read, "A cable TV subscription brings variety to Balky's life, but it also turns him into a couch potato who's on the verge of losing his job."
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
See, you had to be on your couch back then. It was appointment television. It was the appointment with the couch, with the groove in the couch that you worked very hard on to make it nice and comfy. Perfect Strangers, of course, starring Bronson Pinchot, Marklyn Baker as Balky and Larry. Hilarious as always. We have, if you watch this episode, you see in the opening credits, Belita Moreno.
A familiar name.
Oh, Miss Twinkasetti, but she's not Mrs. Twinkasetti. We'll find out who she is when we get to her. It's great. And then the fantabulous guest cast of Jo Marie Payton, France as Harriet Winslow, Sam Anderson as Mr. Gorpley, crusty Mr. Gorpley, and Harry Murphy and Brian Cale playing some random dudes we will talk about.
Belita Moreno here reminds me of Act 2 of Hamilton, where a bunch of the same actors from Act 1 come back, but as totally different characters.
Wasn't he Lafayette? Now, what's going on? That's that's true. They're still doing that, and it works.
Belita Moreno is the Thomas Jefferson of Perfect Strangers.
Recast the same person you just saw as somebody else. No problem.
I should say the Daveed Diggs of Perfect Strangers. Yes. Okay, moving on. Small aside.
I already mentioned the air date, December 2nd, 1987 original.
We're almost to 1988.
Whoa.
Almost. Okay, Act 1. Let's get into it. We are in our favorite apartment, but it's more than just Balky and Larry there. They are standing in the living room with a hired hand, a installation. A gentleman hired to install
It's a cable
television. Yeah, but if I say cable guy, I don't know if young people know what that means.
Oh my God, there's still Xfinity people coming over and
that's right,
plugging things in.
So there's a cable guy there to install the cable TV. He is from XYZ Cable, as we see from his uniform.
Yeah, that's not a placeholder we're using, listener. That's the name of the cable company.
That's not me reading the notes incorrectly. Yes. That is what was on his uniform.
Not XYZ ABC either. Not at the beginning of the alphabet. The end of the alphabet.
No, it's the end.
Yeah.
And he's just finished installing a whole guy to put a wire into the back of their television.
That's all it is. It's like one white coaxial cable
wire
into the television.
They need a whole guy with all these tools and stuff.
And now he tells them that they are official cable subscribers. And there's a funny opening gag as the guy goes to Balky, can I get my belt back? And Balky's holding his utility belt because he wants to play with it.
Utility belt, yes. All those tools he needed to put that cable in the back of the television.
Yeah, all you had to do is screw it back. There's not even like a box or anything. It's very weird.
There's nothing there. Why do you need a whole guy? Anyway.
They are cable subscribers as they stand in front of the TV, and Balky goes, cousin, does this mean we're cable ready? And Larry says, Balky, that little wire is going to change our lives.
And indeed, cable television changed many a life in America.
A whole bunch of people's lives.
Many lives. Cable television came to America around 1948.
That's when it started. Early cable use was in 1948, but by the 87 and the late 80s, you have 53 million U.S. households with cable TV. And then by 1992, 60% of all U.S. households. And now it's ubiquitous. It's kind of like everybody has cable. And then further, just more context, HBO, if you're talking like premium pay cable, which is really what most people think of cable, started in 1972, gets big in the 80s. So the 80s is really where premium pay cable is now big news, and everybody, it's not TV, it's HBO. Remember those commercials?
Yes. And if you were around in your lifetime and remember the first time getting cable at home, then you will very much relate to what happens in the beginning of this scene and this act. So Larry's just told Balky that little wire is going to change our lives. Just to illustrate his point, he shows Balky the cable guide, the little print booklet cable guide, like a TV guide, but for the cable channels. And he flips through and he's like, look at this. We've got 4 movie channels. And then, so this is like a pattern repetition comedy thing in this scene right now. As we've talked about before, repetition makes people laugh. So they're standing, they're getting exciting about things, and there's like 3 beats that they do. So Larry's like, we've got 4 movie channels, and they both gasp together and look at each other with happy faces. And then Larry says, we never have to go stand in line to see a movie. And then they gasp excitedly again, right? And then that's the first beat. The second beat, Larry's like, we've got the all aerobics channel. And then they both go, and Larry says, no need to join a gym. And then they both look excited. And then the third beat, Larry goes, we've got the all shopping channel. And Balky goes, and Larry says, we never have to go to the mall again. But then Balky looks excited, and then it hits him what that means, and he looks sad. But I like the mall. And then Larry's like, okay, we can go once in a while.
We can still go. That's so funny.
So that's a rule of 3. It's a repetitive gag. It's all the rhythm. Classic tools of sitcom comedy right here.
Quick rhythm back and forth. Yeah. And they both sit on the couch as Larry tells Balky, you're going to love this. He shows him the all news channel. He shows him the all sports channel. And then he clicks and turns it to the all music video channel. And do you remember when MTV actually used to play music videos?
I do. It was a long time
we're both
ago.
That old listener, younger listener. MTV actually stands for music television. They used to play music. I think they should change their name. It's not music TV anymore.
MVTV.
Anyways, they're watching the all music video channel, and Balky looks at it and goes, is that Michael Jackson or his sister? Which is, that's a funny gag right there because that happened a lot. And then Larry looks at it and goes, that's Diana Ross. And then they do this weird thing and they both just lean forward and they just like nod. Yeah, it's pretty good.
But let's back up again. That whole bit where, so Larry is showing Balky basically something we all felt like a world of possibilities with cable. You can watch all these different things, all these specialized channels. It was
all something niche
groundbreaking
channels.
At the time. It was something brand new. It was exciting.
I mean, you got to understand, up until then, there was maybe 6 major channels you could watch. And only television. 3 of them had anything good on them at any time. So
who watched CBS anyway?
Well, CBS had,
I'm kidding.
They had some hits. They had some sitcom hits. So then Balky wants to pick a channel, but he doesn't know what to pick. It's overwhelming, which it is. If you look at the hundreds of channels, you're like, oh boy, what do I pick? Larry goes, pick anything you want, Balky. And so Balky clicks it, and he lands on, we hear the audio of a very exciting football game. And it sounds like it's a Bears game. And the announcer goes, "This is the most exciting game of the season." And Larry is instantly into it. And he's transfixed and he's got his hands up and he's like, oh my God. They even mentioned Walter Payton in the play. I love that attention to detail. This whole time, while Larry's in the football game, Bucky's just like staring at the remote and turning it. Yeah. He's not watching the TV. And it's getting to the most exciting part of the play when Bucky clicks the remote and changes the channel. And Larry goes, yes. And it clicks. What?
Why?
He turns and grabs Belky with the shirt. Why did you change the channel? And Belky's like, oh, you said I could pick anything I want, and I'm not in the mood for football. And then he clicks again, and you hear the classic theme song to the classic sitcom Mr. Ed. You hear the famous theme song, horse is a horse.
Horse is a horse, of course.
And then Belky does a great impression as he's excited. He's like, oh, Mr. Ed. And he goes, now just to wait a doggone minute, Will. Brr. I can't do it, but you got to roll your brr, brr. But he does a pretty good impersonation. And then he's dancing his fingers around to the Mr. Ed theme song, which I loved as a kid. And Larry finally grabs the remote, tries to get it back. They struggle. The remote clicks again. And here's a great callback as it lands on the Brady Bunch. And we hear at the beginning of the theme song, here's a story. And they stop struggling and start watching just in time to go dun at the same time
in unison. And also,
together.
So we saw that gag before when they were taking care of baby Frankie.
2 Men in a Cradle episode.
Yes.
They did.
Also, did you notice how close they're sitting together on this couch? That really stuck out to me. I think that's like a sitcom staging thing, but that people have to be very close together. But they're basically like touching. They're like sitting on each other.
They need it to be center in front of the TV, so you both get the
squished
best
on one
view.
Side of the couch. I know that part really.
You remember us as kids? We would sit right in front of the television, all huddled up in the warm glow of the pixels. Yes. I have to feel the electricity. Also, that show, Mr. Ed, classic, ran from 1961, 1966. But did you watch? I watched it as a kid in syndication.
I watched a few here and there. Yeah.
That's how we know the theme song. And then, real quick, I wanted to share one thing about when we got cable TV. Our father bought it very, very early. I don't know if you remember this. It was a service called On TV, which is called
I don't remember that.
And here's what it was. This is why I was surprised he just screwed a wire into the TV. It was a wooden box, like a wooden cabinet box, and it had in the front of it was like an on-off mechanical switch up and down and just a knob. And that was it. It was just a knob and an up and down. So you would turn it on, you get the cables
like
on.
Like a light switch?
Yeah, like a up and down mechanical.
Yeah.
All mechanical. And then you would turn the knob to find the channels. And this whole setup was very exciting. It was new. His cable was called On TV. It was very weird.
I don't remember that.
I have a little bit of recollection of this On TV box. Anyways, listener, you want to get involved with the show and contribute your observations per each episode? There's a way to do that. Join our Facebook group. Search for Dance of Joy Podcast Group. It's where I post a thread for the episode we are recording that week, and you can watch it with us on Hulu. All episodes streaming on Hulu. Leave your comments, and we will shout them out at the end of the episode. Sophia, we got some new group members.
New group members. Welcome to Tasha McGee Art and Sebi CB. Please let us know.
I love that. That's a great name.
Sebi Ravi. If we're mispronouncing your name, but welcome. We're very happy to have you, and we look forward to you joining in on the discussions.
I welcome them to the group, and Sebi wrote he's a big fan of the podcast, and he says thanks for taking a fresh look at this classic sitcom.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Sebi, for appreciating.
Thanks for listening.
Old school nostalgia TV rewatch pod. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody has enough time to waste to do this, but we do.
So I feel like Act 1 in this episode, again, was very, very short.
Very short, Act 1.
It was just sort of basically setting up this idea of couch potato, or this, not even.
We're
yet. Setting up this idea of cable television.
Cable television
and
has
a world
everything.
of possibilities, yes.
Yeah. Already tons of TV references thrown in there. It's great.
Also, I think maybe they had to sit so close together on the couch because those old analog TVs aren't like what we have now. Maybe you couldn't see them from the side as well.
Viewing angles are an issue.
You had to sit right in front.
Sound
to get the full
is
view.
an issue. I mean, you didn't have to, but everybody wanted that front. Remember, that was always the best spot. Was like right in front.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we roll into Act 2, and we are now later that evening. And first we see an exterior shot of the building, and you can see a little light flickering in the cousin's apartment.
You don't see a light
Wonder
in there.
what that is.
What is that?
And then we go to the internal of the apartment, and we see that light is the television because Balki is still watching up into the wee hours of the night.
Oh, boy.
And it sounds like he's watching an action movie. There's like gunshots and sound effects and stuff like that. And Larry emerges from his bedroom. He's in his pajamas. Balki changes the channel to a different loud movie. And Larry turns the living room light on and walks over to the couch and sits on the arm of the couch. And he's like, Balki, that's it. The war is over. Balki, it's time to go to bed. And Balki just doesn't respond at all. He's like zombied out, continues to stare into the TV. And Larry's like, Balki, Balki, Balki. And then finally he grabs the hair on the back of Balki's head and like physically turns Balki's head toward him. And Balki goes, hi, cousin. In this like sort of zombied out, dreamy voice. Larry says hi, and Balki's like, what's shaking? And he looks back, he turns his head back toward the TV, and he changes the channel again. So he's just bouncing back and forth between a few different channels.
It's obvious he's a channel clicker. He's one of those guys. And then we get some brief physical comedy right here as Larry is trying to snap Balki out of it by slapping Balki out of it. He's like, Balki, Balki, Balki. And then he finally slaps Balki's face, and they do that bit where they go back and forth.
Push each other's faces.
Yeah, Larry slaps Balki, Balki slaps Larry. Larry shoves Balki's head, and then we have a new move. Instead of Balki shoving Larry's head, Balki grabs Larry and flips him over and lands him right on the couch,
like
lying down
arc
in one smooth move with Larry's head lying in Balki's lap. And then he continues watching TV. He goes, I learned that on the All Wrestling Channel. Amazing.
It's a very smooth move.
Yeah.
Very smooth move. Very nice, like smooth coordination between the two actors.
That was great.
Kind of an amazing flip.
Yes.
Like it's like an overhead flip, like full
Marklin
360.
Baker clears Bronson without hitting him or anything. That could have been dangerous.
And without much of like a lead up or a, I don't know.
You don't expect it, right? And it just comes out of nowhere and he flips him over gently onto the sofa. It's so great.
Anyway, Larry is like ends up with his head in Balki's lap, and then he sits up on the couch. He's like, "How can you be watching anything?" Because he keeps changing the channel. He's like, I doesn't understand how he's watching any one thing. And Balki, of course, is like, "Oh, it's easy." He has an explanation, of course, and he says on one channel there's that he's watching, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger blowing up drug dealers. Then he flips the channel with the remote. He says on another channel that he's watching, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger blowing up soldiers.
Uh-huh.
And then he flips the channel again with the remote, and he's like, and then he says on the third channel he's watching, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger blowing up drug dealing soldiers. And then he says this stupid line, but it's so funny. He says, "I just love cable. There's so much variety."
Every kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger blowing up drug dealing soldiers you can find. And then Larry's finally had it. He grabs Balki and physically lifts him up to his feet, walks him to his bedroom. He tells him he has to go to bed. It's almost time to get up. And Balki goes, "But cousin, how will I know what happened to Arnold Schwarzenegger?" And then Larry goes, "He blows everybody up, marries Maria Shriver, and lives happily ever after." Which is great. Because now he goes, "Now get some sleep." So he mixes Arnold's real life with fictional Arnold's life.
He does not talk about becoming the governor of California.
No, this is way too early for that. And now Chris Pratt is like married into that Schwarzenegger, Shriver, Kennedy family. Like,
really?
Yeah, Schwarzenegger is Chris Pratt's like father-in-law or some weird. It's weird. Chris Pratt's it's all the legacy. The empire continues. Anyways, he goes, "Get some sleep," and Balki's like, "Okay, cousin, good night." And then Larry walks away to bed, and Balki turns around for a second. Larry goes, because he catches him. And then Balky turns back to his bedroom and does a little Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. And he goes, puffs up his chest. He goes, Maria, I'm home. And kicks the door down and goes inside to bed. Finally, Balky. Jeez.
It didn't sound that much like Arnold to me.
Who, mine or his?
No, his.
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay, so then the next scene, we skip to the next day, and we're back at the Chicago Chronicle.
Oh, the Chronicle.
And we're in the basement where
this
the
is
two
where
guys
they work.
But we see Larry at Balky's mail station, and he at his table, his mail table, and Larry is frantic and frazzled. The phone is ringing. He's trying to sort mail. There's piles of mail everywhere.
This is not where he works.
And that's not his job, right?
No.
So we see him answer the phone and promise somebody who's looking for Balky that Balky will be there and deliver the mail that they need. So we get this scene where like Balky's absent and things are falling apart in the mail department. The elevator dings and we see the former Mrs. Twinkassetti, Belita Marino.
Hey, it's Mrs. Twinkassetti. What's she doing
elevator,
here?
But she's not. She has different color hair. She has different kind of outfit, a little bit of a different demeanor, but it's the same actress, Belita Marino. And she has now become Thomas Jefferson. No, Lydia Markham, the advice columnist for the Chicago Chronicle.
Lydia Markham's coming home. I love her red hair. Yeah, she looks very different. She's obviously, dressed a lot more fun, and the red lipstick is very bright.
And
fun.
She is also looking for Balky because he was supposed to bring her the letters that people write to her asking for her advice column, and she has a deadline looming. Larry explains to her that Balky is still at lunch. He gives her her mail, and then he asks if she has time to give him some advice. And she's like, I am never too busy to help a friend. What's the problem, Larry? Can't get a date?
Oh,
Ouch.
snap. And he goes, no, it's Balky. And she goes, well, Balky shouldn't have a problem getting a date.
Ouch. Double
burn.
ouch.
Oh, my
Double
God.
burn, Larry.
He should ask her about getting a date. No, he's dating Jennifer. Never mind.
Jennifer, he convinced a woman to drop all her career ambitions.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, Larry Appleton.
He should be writing
the advice column. Well, especially now because he explains to her, he goes, this has nothing to do with dating. It has to do with Balky glued to the TV every night, staying up late, not going to bed. He goes, he's late to work because he doesn't want to miss the end of The Flying Nun, which, younger listeners, was a TV show with Sally Field starring as a flying nun.
What made her fly?
So it wasn't anything magic. Her habit had these giant wings, and the wind would hit it perfectly, and she could lift off and fly.
I think we need a reboot of that show.
Yeah, that was an ABC show, ran from 1967 to 70, and Sally Field was adorable. So he explains this to Lydia, right? Up all night, late for work. He goes, what should I do, Lydia? And Lydia is clearly flustered and stumped. She's just good at giving dating advice. Because Larry goes, Lydia, what do you think? And she goes, don't push me. She snaps at him. She's like, I'm not good at these spur-of-the-moment answers. I am a small, neurotic woman with problems of my own, Larry. That's the best part. She goes, problems of my own, Larry. I can't take this kind of pressure. And then she grabs her basket. She goes, why is everyone bothering me? Why do all the people think I have the answers? And she runs up the stairs, and Larry just goes, thank you. She's just not good at giving advice on the spot.
I feel like that was a super abrupt turn of character, but they just needed a line to get her to exit or something.
And I think they needed to introduce this her catchphrase of her going, Larry. I think we're going to hear that again, but it's super funny. She's so good. Like, you forget about Mrs. Twinkassetti instantly after this.
Because this character is a lot bigger than the character itself is has more a different energy and plays bigger than, I feel like Mrs. Twinkassetti was a smaller character in the background.
Definitely. And I mean, we saw she gets credit in the beginning of the show. So Oh, can't wait to see more of Lydia Markham.
And then we have Mr. Gorpley storming out of his office. He's also looking for Balky.
Another great character on this show, Mr. Gorpley.
And he literally says, "Where is that idiot Meepiot?"
Yes, that's hilarious.
Which is kind of a fun rhyming thing there.
Fun thing
Idiot
to say.
Meepiot.
Idiot Meepiot.
And he's like, he's not still at lunch, is he? And Larry sort of like covers for him. He's like, he's going to be back, this and that. And Gorpley explains that the managing editor didn't get a package he was supposed to get. And that's the third time this week that Balky has screwed up. And Gorpley says if he gets one more complaint, he's going to have to do something about it. And he says, oh, I have an idea. I'll fire him.
Uh-oh.
And he storms off back into his office. And Larry's like, I'll give him the message and you just have a lovely, lovely. And then Gorpley slams his door and Larry says, jerk.
Jerk. They don't like Gorpley. Gorpley is such a jerk. And then the elevator dings and now finally here's Balky. And he's wearing the Trapper Keeper jacket.
Yeah,
Sophia.
that's the one I titled.
The one you named, right? And
I call it the Trapper Keeper
he's
jacket.
got dark sunglasses. Because what? Because of the little patterns on there.
Because the pattern on it reminds me of 1980s, 90s Trapper Keeper.
It's definitely a Trapper Keeper. I love that. I love that name. So he rushes past Larry to hang up his coat with his head down and his dark sunglasses. He wants to hang up his jacket and hang his head in shame. As Larry walks over and asks him, he goes, Balky, did you go home for lunch? And Balky nods silently. He goes, did you turn on the TV? Balky goes, I don't want to talk about it. Walks away. But Larry goes, did you turn on the TV? And then Balky goes, oh, cousin, you can read me like a brown paper bag. which is a messed up reference. The saying is you can read me like a book.
Like a book.
I don't understand the brown paper bag.
What is the brown paper bag reference? That's a good question. The only thing I can think of is maybe if we're talking about reading someone like a book, maybe it's read me like a paperback, which sounds like a paperback book.
Usually it's two sayings
like
though,
paper bag,
that they combine.
And you got brown paper bag. Yeah, but I can't think of any saying.
I think he just
brown paper bag.
I think the joke is he just messed up the you can read me like a book, brown paper bag. Anyways, Balky goes, Leave It to Beaver was on. He goes, it was a wonderful episode. At the end, Ward said, Beav, no matter what you do, your mother and I will always love you. Well, I got to tell you, I broke down and cried till my eyes fell out.
Cried my eyes out. Cried till my eyes fell out.
Cried till my eyes fell out. And Larry goes, Balky, you're 40 minutes late. And Ward said that at the end of every episode. Which he's right. He did.
And so Larry warns Balky that he has to get his act together because Gorpley's about to fire him. And Balky promises that it won't happen again. And then Larry's like, okay, good, great, perfect. And Balky is like, wait, aren't you going to forgive me like Ward forgave the Beav? And Larry says, of course he will. And he hugs him. And then he gives him some mail to take upstairs and says it has to get up there right away. And Balky's like, okay. And he grabs the basket and he starts running up the stairs and he stops. He pauses as he's running up the stairs to recite the following lines. He runs up a few stairs. He says, I'm faster than a speeding bullet. And then he runs up more. He says, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap small children in a single bound. And he jumps off into the upstairs room. And that, of course, is a reference to classic lines from The Adventures of Superman.
Yes, it's a comic book superhero reference. I love these.
Which started, yes, it's comic book, superhero. Everyone knows Superman. But in other forms of entertainment, we had Superman as a radio show in the 40s. And then we had it as a television show in the 50s with George Reeves playing Superman / Clark Kent.
Well, in the beginning of the shows, this is what the announcer would say. Yes. Is you heard it over and over again. And ever since I was
faster than a speeding bullet.
You know this ever since you're a kid. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, not small children.
And Balky says small children in a single bound.
And then, of course, it's always followed by, look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Like, all kids know this growing up, even though if you've never watched the show, it's crazy. It's like everybody knows. I wonder if kids know it now, if they would recognize that.
I'm
Probably
not sure they'll all know it now, but So Balky obviously has been watching a lot of Superman on the All Superman channel of cable TV. Larry goes back to his desk, and then we have our favorite Harriet Winslow with some sage advice to Larry, or at least some comments. She tells Larry that he's got a problem, that Balky is becoming a couch potato. And Larry's like, couch potato? And she explains that a couch potato is one of those people who spend so much time watching TV that they end up with a butt the size of Detroit. And Larry says, look, it's just the novelty of having 24-hour cable. Like, it's not a big deal. He doesn't have a problem. And Harriet's like, really? Does he stay up all night? And Larry says, not all night. He's usually in bed by 5, 6 in the morning, right after Gumby.
Right after Gumby.
And Harriet's just like, mm-hmm. And he's like, and she says, well, does he ever hum the theme from I Dream of Jeannie? And Larry's like, I don't know that I'd recognize it. And just at that moment, we pan out, and Balky's at the top of the stairs dancing and singing what? The theme of I Dream of Jeannie with strategic hip thrust. And
he like shakes his hips around. It's fantastic. He's so fluid.
I Dream of Jeannie was a popular television show from
the 60s. Barbara Eden.
60s. Yes. I do remember watching a lot of I Dream of Jeannie in reruns when we were kids.
There was I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, which was kind of the same idea. They both had like genies and witches.
Well, one was a witch and one was a genie.
Yeah, but they were all both like making magic and granting wishes, but both fantastic.
These were shows in black and white. Yeah. I don't know if anybody, any young people.
These were shows that started.
Them.
They started in black and white and then became color. But they're great shows.
I don't know if young people these days watch these shows anywhere. For us, it was just like the reruns would play on TV.
This was summertime
in the
TV.
Summertime, and we were home doing nothing in the summertime.
You know, they have Nick at Night now where a lot of these shows run, and a lot of the generation after us was exposed to like the Dick Van Dyke Show on the Nick at Night.
But like the younger generation now, like isn't like flipping channels to just come across what's on. I don't think. Anyway,
yeah, that's good.
We'll come back to that in a bit.
Yes, today.
And then Harriet closes out this scene and this act by saying, after Balky shows up with the theme song, I Dream of Jeannie, you got yourself a couch potato. What I find interesting here is this metric for couch potato is the I Dream of Jeannie theme song.
Yes, because they ever hum the theme, I Dream of Jeannie.
Well, how did that become where you draw the line?
That's like a Jeff Foxworthy joke. You might be a couch potato if you hum the theme for the I Dream of Jeannie.
I Dream of Jeannie.
Just a random popular song. So this term couch potato, I was wondering about this the whole time. This is in the dictionary. It's in the Merriam-Webster dictionary.
Well, there's a lot of things in the dictionary now.
Like I know, like Homer Simpson's dough is in the dictionary, which is hilarious. But the definition from the dictionary, a lazy and inactive person, especially one who spends a great deal of time watching television. The first known use of couch potato, 1976.
Yeah, but what's the origin of
I don't know.
The phrase?
It didn't say. I couldn't find it. Didn't have it in the Webster listing on the dictionary.com or whatever.
Well, I did a little digging, and I think there's a lot of tellings, a lot of explanations of the origin of this couch potato term, and most commonly attributed to a man named Tom Lacino from California, who uttered the phrase the first time on July 15, 1976, during a telephone conversation. And here's something I'm just reading off the internet. It says he was a member of a Southern California group humorously opposed to the fads of exercise and healthy diet in favor of vegetating before the TV and eating junk food.
Oh, where can I sign up for this club?
Because their lives centered on television. And in television, in the 60s and 70s, the television was commonly referred to as the boob tube.
Boob tube, yes, I remember that.
So these guys called themselves boob tubers.
Before YouTubers, there was boob tubers.
Boob tubers. Yeah. And Lacino apparently took the brilliant next step and substituted potato as a synonym for tuber. like a tuber, like a root vegetable
root
tuber.
vegetable tuber. Yeah. Couch tuber.
Thinking of where that potato sits to watch the tube, he came up with the couch potato.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So I don't think it's
super interesting.
It's any coincidence that the term is coined the year I was born, and then I am raised essentially by television.
Brilliant.
So makes a lot of sense, listener. Listener, if you enjoy that kind of research and deep dive, well done, Sophia.
Sorry, it's not Lacino. His name is Tom Iacino, Iacino. Anyway.
Okay. Tom Iacino, we love you. But if you enjoy the show and that kind of meticulous research that we just did on the spot for you, consider supporting the show here at the end of Act 2 before we get into Act 3 and find out what happens. Visit our website, danceofjoypod.com/support. Click that Buy Me a Coffee button. It's a virtual tip jar. You can leave a one-time donation, buy some coffees, or become a monthly member. And all these coffees fuel our vast Googling and research as we pick apart every little stupid detail in Perfect Strangers. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And that brings us to Act 3. At the end of Act 2, we got Balky as a couch potato and Larry freaking out, trying to figure out what to do about it. Act 3, we're in the apartment. Larry's got a briefcase and a jacket. He's heading out the door from the hallway. He's toward the front door. But before he has a chance to go to do anything with the front door, the door bursts open in his face and it hits him in the face.
In your face, Appleton.
And it's Balky coming in from the hallway outside of the apartment, and he throws the door open and he races to the kitchen super fast. He grabs a box of donuts and he races to the couch, sits down, grabs the remote, holds it up in front of him, clicks it, and then goes, ah! Because the camera pans out and we see that there is no television in front of him.
The TV is gone.
He's just clicking at air, and there's a loose cord on the stand.
Just the cord.
Balky screams and he says, "We've been robbed." And Larry explains to him that they haven't been robbed, that he has taken the television. He says, "I took the television." And Balky goes, "Oh, you took the television." And he's a little bit relieved. And then he goes, "You took the television?"
Yes. Larry goes, "Balky, I've given this a lot of thought, and what I've done is for your own good. You've been watching too much television, and you've just got to stop." And Balky goes, "Let me get this straight. You're telling me that I can't watch television?" "Yes," Larry says. "I see." Balky says, "And I'm telling you," and he grabs Larry by the shirt, lifts him up to his face. He goes, give me the TV. Oh, boy. Balky is hooked and addicted and has turned into a monster.
Boy. Yes.
And then Larry pulls himself, and he goes, "It's not here." He pulls himself free. He goes, "It's in a locker at the bus station." And Balky goes, "Oh, I see. It's in a locker at the bus station." And then he grabs Larry again by the shirt and pulls him. He goes, Give me the key. Oh, boy. And Larry pulls himself up free again. He goes, "I don't have it. I gave it to Jennifer and Marianne." At that point, Balky throws Larry onto the couch where he lands perfectly sitting, heads for the door. But Larry goes, "They're on a flight to Zurich." And then Balky slowly walks back to him. Goes, "What is this? Some kind of sick joke?"
So at that point, Larry becomes like the 1987 version of like some kind of productivity app on your computer. He's like, "Larry, all you do is stay up late and watch TV and eat junk food." To illustrate the point, he says, "It's been 2 weeks since you've eaten with a fork. Now, what kind of life is that?" And Balky says, "It's a wonderful life," which I agree with.
And then that's another it's a wonderful life reference, like 2 in a row.
Yes.
And then they both sit on the couch, and I think now, Sophia, we got to do something we haven't done in a long time. I've been missing this. Have you wondered why we haven't done a Perfect Strangers reenactment in a while?
Reenactment!
It is Perfect Strangers reenactment time because there's some great timing and dialogue and comedy. So now, in this following conversation, do you want to be Cousin Larry or do you want to be Cousin Balky?
I'm gonna change it up a little bit and be Balky today.
Oh, you're gonna be Balky. Okay, so Balky is in red, and they have just sit down on the couch, and Balky's trying to reassure Larry.
Now, cousin, if that's all that's bothering you, just sit down, listen to me. I can stop watching TV anytime I want to.
You can stop anytime.
You have to ask?
Yes.
What was the question?
You can stop watching TV anytime you want to.
Of course I can.
Then do it.
Do what?
Stop.
Stop what?
Stop watching TV.
When?
Tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight.
Who?
You, tonight, stop watching TV. End scene.
That was fun. Balky says there's no need to get crazy. We don't have a television. I'll have to do without it, won't I? And he's like, now he's like nagging cousin Larry.
Yeah.
He's like, goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
Jerry
Great
Lee Lewis
reference.
song, yes.
And Larry calms down and he's like, okay, you're good. So that's it. You're not going to watch any more television. Balky's like, what did I just say? And Larry's like, good. And then he gets up and he grabs his things and says he has to go cover a meeting for work. And he looks back. He says, you'll be all right? And Becky's like, well, I'll be fine. I'll just sit here and read this book. And then there's a very long pause.
It's so
Larry
weird.
says,
I love this. It's just,
okay. And he finally, says, okay. And then he leaves and Balky grabs the book, starts to read it, and then looks up.
uh-oh. It's never good when Balky looks up. You know what, Balky? He's got something up. He's got something on his mind. He looks up going, that's his trouble. I'm going to get into trouble. Look. And the trouble, we find out later that night, late that night, Larry returns to a dark apartment. He flips on the light to reveal Balky still sitting there, zombied out on the couch, like
fully zombie.
Oh my God,
now.
his head is back, his mouth is open, his eyes are glazed. He's probably drooling if you look carefully.
Very disturbing.
But wait a minute. There was no TV. What is he staring at? We pull back and we see that he is watching a gigantic TV set that sits on the floor.
It sits on the floor.
Remember, listener, there was a time in American society, in our collective lives, where giant televisions were furniture. You used to, they'd have wood cases and you would put like centerpieces and doilies and flowers on top because it went.
We had one of those.
We had one of those. We had a Zenith that was furniture and the tube, like that, now you can't even picture these TVs anymore because everything's
massive.
Flat.
You needed floor space for a television.
It was a pretty big footprint, but man, when you got a big color TV, it was the best thing in the world. So we have a giant TV in the apartment, and Larry walks over to turn the TV off to get Balky's attention. It's the only way he can get his attention. He goes, where did you get that? Balky goes, Crazy Al's video. And then he turns the TV back on and goes back to watching it.
Okay, can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
This is actually a really interesting thing because Larry just thinks how did he not realize that Balky could easily
just
take away the TV, get a new TV, get another TV. Like, why was getting rid of the TV such a be-all solution? Like, obviously, Balky has agency. He's been in the States for a long time now.
Balky has outsmarted
He knows where
Larry
to go and he has a job. He has money. He can get another TV.
I mean, he's buying counterfeit watches last episode. He can buy another TV. Just go to Crazy Al's video.
Larry's bright idea was to put their key in the crappy small TV in a safe deposit box somewhere and hide the key. But Balky just went and got another TV.
He did not think that was going to happen.
And he got a bigger and better TV anyway. It wasn't even another small crappy TV. It was a big TV.
I just love that. Balky's like, oh, I will show you, cousin. Take my TV away. Crazy Al, give me the biggest thing you got.
Yeah, exactly.
He walked off in credit, and he's gonna get charged an arm and a leg. And what is those?
We don't know. Maybe he was saving up.
Well, he could have had cash. I think he financed it. Look out for those fees.
All right. So anyway, he is zombied out in front of this television. Larry has to go up to the television set and switch it off in order to snap Balky out of it and get his attention. But Balky just turns it back on again with the remote. And Larry switches it off again with, from the button on the TV, and Balky turns it back on again with the remote. And this goes back and forth, and they're physically sort of swaying in parallel in these motions. They go back and forth a few times, and there's physical comedy, infused in there, which is really pleasing to watch, actually. And then until finally Larry lunges for the remote in Balky's hand. It's like a three or four time back and forth. And he like goes for the remote. And Larry's like, give me the remote. And Balky says, get your own remote. And then Larry's like, oh, look, there's Gumby. And Balky falls for it. And then Larry snatches the remote. And Balky says, you tricked Balky. And Larry this time agrees to. He says, you're damn right I tricked Balky. And Balky's like, give me my remote. And he starts chasing Larry around the apartment. And Larry stops. Larry runs around the couch and he stops and he's like, you've got to stop watching so much television. I don't want to see you become a couch potato. And Balky from the other side of the couch goes, a couch potato. Ha! And he says, no way, Rose.
That's the best of line. No way, Jose. Rose is wine.
But he made it Rose. And he says, and do you know why? Because I have no idea what that is. Now give me my remote. He doesn't know what a couch potato is.
And then Balky chases Larry into the kitchen now. And then Larry stops and turns again and goes, Balky, a couch potato is someone who is addicted to television. They sit on the couch watching it day and night. They lose interest in everything else. Their life is reduced to staring blindly at some flickering images on a little screen. Is that what you want to become? And it cuts to Balky, who's not even listening to him and is just staring past him out the window blankly. And Larry's like, Balky, what are you doing? And Balky goes, is that a TV in the window across the way?
Oh.
And Larry looks over and goes, that's a fish tank. And Balky goes, oh, I thought I was watching Sea Hunt. And then Larry, it's a great line. He goes, oh, God, you've turned into a peeping potato. Which
and
is
what,
funny.
Brother, is Sea Hunt?
Oh, this is an old show starring Lloyd Bridges, who is an airplane, and he's part of like Jeff Bridges' brother. From 1958 to 1961, again, rerun for many years about a freelance scuba diver going on dangerous missions. Very famous.
As opposed to a salaried scuba diver?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, he was like ex-military and he was taking jobs. He's like, oh, he takes jobs. I never watched Sea Hunt, but it was very popular.
Okay.
But Lloyd Bridges is great.
Okay. Balky advances on Cousin Larry and he's like, for the last time, hand over the remote. And Larry says no, and he fakes Balky out. They're still like chasing each other around, and he runs around the kitchen counter before Larry stops. He goes, Balky, and Balky goes, Cousin, I want my MTV.
Oh, that's a reference.
Another reference.
Yeah.
This is a reference to the original slogan of the music television channel, the MTV channel.
Yeah, they still kind of use it. And
it was also a line in the hit Dire Straits song, Money for Nothing.
I want my MTV. Right. That's such a great song.
And I remember the early MTV commercials with that slogan.
Yeah, people are screaming, I want my MTV. I just want them to play music again. How about that? How about you play music videos?
Right. Okay, so then back in the scene, Larry's trying to reason with Balky, trying to get him to see what television is doing. And he says, Balky, TV is ruining your life. Ever since we got cable, we don't go to ball games anymore. We don't go out with Jennifer and Marianne. We don't do anything. And Balky goes, you know what you can do? You can give me back my remote.
And then they start chasing each other again. Balky starts after Larry. And this time Larry runs over to the living room window, opens it, and holds the remote out over the fire escape outside the window. He goes, all right, Balky, take one more step. And the remote is dead meat. Balky's like, you're bluffing. Larry goes, try me. Balky goes, you don't have the guts. And Balky takes a step forward, and Larry tosses the remote away behind him. And you hear it go, plink, clink, clink, clink.
All the way down the fire escape.
And Balky is just shocked. He goes, I don't believe you did that. Larry goes, well, believe it. It's gone. And then Balky goes, you know what? I don't need a stinking remote. I can still turn on the television. Why? Because I've got this. And he holds up his index finger in the air. It's so funny. It's pointing.
And Larry grabs for Balky's hand as if what? He's going to throw the finger out the window too? Like, why would he even lunge at his hand?
It's
anyway, Larry lunges at Balky's hand where he's holding up his finger to turn the TV on, and they struggle like they do in the movies as if it was a gun, right? Or another remote that he's trying to get out of his hand. And Larry slams Balky's hand on the kitchen table, and then Balky looks all shocked, and then you see him slowly hold up a bent finger, like as if Larry had just broken it.
That's
on the
so
kitchen
funny.
table,
Just like in an action movie where he's trying to get the gun out of his hand, but now his finger is all crooked.
And then he's holding up as if like you ruined my finger, and then he whips out his other finger from his other hand.
It still works.
And Larry grabs at that one, and then Larry sort of like bear hugs him from behind while Balky walks to the living room, dragging Larry on his back over to the television. And Balky's trying to get his finger toward the TV to turn it on, and Larry's trying to stop him, and he says, "All right." And they're like tussling while these lines are happening, and Larry's still like on his back.
Yeah.
He's like, "I wasn't going to mention this because I thought it would be too painful, but you give me no choice." And he says, "When was the last time you wrote a letter to your mama?"
Oh my God. This snaps him out of it.
Balky hears it. And he stands up and he says, "Mama, well, it was just the other day." And Larry's like, "Wrong. It was over 2 weeks ago."
Oh my. Oh no. Balky's like, "That can't be. It was right after we saw that wonderful Sean Penn and Madonna movie." And Larry goes, "Time flies when you're a potato." And then he points at the cable guide. He goes, "There's the cable guide. Why don't you look and see when it was on? Go ahead." And Balky goes, "No." And Larry goes, "Yes." And Balky goes, "No." Larry goes, "Yes." Balky goes, "No." And Larry goes, "Look," and grabs Balky's head and pushes it down towards the cable guide. And then after a beat, Balky looks up and goes, "What's today, Wednesday?" And he goes, "Yeah." So he flips the page through. And he realizes it was 2 weeks ago. He says he's never gone 2 weeks without writing Mama. She must think something horrible has happened to me. And Larry goes, "Something horrible has happened to you." He says, "Cousin, you're right." Balky says, "I've turned into a Mr. Potato Head. What am I going to do?"
So then we have what may be lesson time here, but it's a little bit early and there's no lesson time music, so it's hard to know. Larry tells Balky that television is okay if you don't abuse it, kind of this like all things in moderation lesson. And he promises to help Balky be more selective in what he watches. And then he says,
"See, that's the lesson." I know.
Yeah, that's the lesson. And then he says, "First thing in the morning, we're going to go see Crazy Alan return this television." And then Balky's like, "Okay, while we're at it, we should cancel the satellite dish I ordered."
Oh my God. I didn't even know there was satellite TV that early. I looked this up. The term satellite dish coined 1978 in the beginning of the satellite TV industry, right? And this dude, Taylor Howard of San Andreas, California, adapted an old ex-military dish. Again, in 1976, became the first
a radar dish.
Yeah, became the first person to receive satellite television signals using that dish. But I don't know if you remember, they used to be giant. It was a giant dish on your, like you couldn't use your lawn. Basically, it's just a dish. So obviously, we still have them around. They're a lot smaller, so better size, out of the way. But it was a huge thing, and everyone would be like, "Oh, look at that fancy guy. He's got satellite TV." It's like blocking your house. You can't even see the house.
Yeah, so this episode kind of like resolves the conflict with the lesson a little bit earlier, and then we have a whole nother post scene, like outro scene.
Well, you got to deal with the fallout at the work with Gorpley. That's all.
Right. So then we cut to the Chronicle, and just assuming that, Balky's snapped out of it. He's not a couch potato anymore. They return the TV, etc. And we're at the Chronicle in the basement, and Balky's putting on his Trapper Keeper jacket and getting ready to leave. And Gorpley comes out thinking that he's caught Balky in a bunch of unfinished work, but we find out that Balky's actually way ahead of everything. Gorpley's like, "Are you leaving already?" And Balky says that Cousin Larry has surprised him with tickets to a rock concert. They're going to a rock concert tonight. He says, "My life in America just keeps getting better and better." And Gorpley's just like, "Isn't that nice?" Very sarcastically. And he starts asking him, "Did you get the postage meter refilled?" And Balky's like, "Yep. And I put the receipt on your desk." And he says, "Receipt it?" And Balky says, "Receipt it. Receipt it.
I love it.
Did you copy all those invoices?" "Yes. And I made copies of the copies." "Aha, I bet you didn't get those mail bags washed." And And Balky's like, I got them washed and ironed, light starch, half in boxes, half on hangers. Anything else?
Wow, Balky's
And Gorpley's
great.
like, what? And he goes, one of these days, Bartakamus, you're going to foul up. And when you do, I'm going to throw a party. And Balky's like, oh, thank you, sir. And tries to go hug him and stuff. And then he's like, and he goes, and listen, you don't have to pay for everything. Cousin Larry and I will bring the little hats. And Gorpley just kind of like grumbles off into his office.
Gorpley cannot insult Balky, and he just always poops his party. It's so funny.
And then there's one last joke in the dialogue, one last bit of dialogue. Larry says, let's go, Balky. Are you sure you're ready for a rock concert? They might have those big Diamond Vision screens. And Balky assures him he's okay. He says, I've got that TV turkey off my back.
Yeah.
I think that's like quitting cold turkey plus getting the monkey off your back.
Yes. TV turkey off my back. Cold turkey and yes, get the monkey off my back. Very good. Yes.
Okay. So the final joke, the final little exchange here is Balky asking Larry who they're going to see tonight at the rock concert. And Larry says, Chicago. And Balky says, I know where we are. I'm asking you, who are we going to see tonight? And Larry says, Chicago. And Balky says, yes, I understand. I'm asking you, who's going to be singing here in Chicago? And Larry just looks at him and goes, the Beatles. And Balky says, well, it was like pulling teeth, but thank you for the straight answer.
Oh, my God. I love this. This is their take on the classic Who's on First, Abbott and Costello bit. And if, again, a listener maybe not into classic rock, Chicago is the name of a band from Chicago, a classic rock band. They're an amazing band, lots of horns, lots of pieces. But that's so funny how they use the band's name, Chicago. Yeah. It's like, I don't know where, I'm like, who are we going to see? I know where we are. It's so dumb, but it's funny.
So, yeah, we had the lesson a little bit early and then a couple other bits of dialogue with some jokes and then roll credits.
Listener, if you're enjoying the show and want to show the public it's nice out wearing T-shirts, wearing tank tops, get out there, buy some swag. We have Dance of Joy merch at our TeePublic shop. Visit danceofjoypod.com/shop.
And if you're in a part of the country that is going back to mask mandates, we also have two different kinds of face masks.
We got you covered whatever phase your state is in right now. But we also have like travel mugs and tote bags and tank tops, lots of fun stuff for the summer. Get it, buy it, wear it, send us a photo of it, and we will celebrate it. And we will do the Dance of Joy ourselves. So I love this episode just because of the meta-ness of that. It's an episode of television all about watching television.
And very relatable, especially to people like you and me.
Oh, my God, yes. I felt for Balky. I've been there. I mean, now we'll get to...
I, to this day, binge watch. We didn't have this term binge watching for television back then, but that's what it was. That's what we did as children, and that's what I still do today.
And that's the irony, is that's how we got the idea for this podcast, was kind of binge watching Perfect Strangers, which you can do now. But again, back then, I was that guy. It's kind of the term FOMO didn't exist back then, but that's what it was. I found myself constantly changing channels like Balky because I was always worried I was missing something cool on the other channel. Because we didn't have DVRs and you couldn't rewind and pause.
We would have to do it at the commercial breaks.
Yes, and you're trying to watch multiple shows at the same time, and I'm like, oh, something good's happening here, so let me go. So, and there's just a plethora of, when you get cable, there's so many things that you feel like you need to watch every channel because you're paying for it. It's something still today. I pay for cable. I have hundreds of channels. I watch maybe 4 of them. And I'm like, why am I paying for all these channels?
Just because you might need to watch them.
Something may show up on HBO. There's a show that everybody's watching and now I got to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you.
But we can all relate to Belle.
I mean... We used to mark the time of day in the summer times during our summer breaks by the TV guide and what we were watching.
Yes, and Mother would yell at me for sitting too close to the television.
Oh, yeah. We all know that ruins your eyes.
Of course.
That's why we both wear glasses.
That's why we're all 4 eyes.
All right. This episode also marks the return of Belita Marino in a different character, as she is now Lydia Markham, as we mentioned, the Chronicle's advice columnist.
Yeah, that's fantastic. She is so funny.
So funny.
You get Bronson Pinchot doing some imitations, some voices, Mr. Ed and Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's fun.
We have another callback and return appearance to the Raisin Poofs.
Raisin Poofs. You see a box
that we see
poofs
on the dining room table in this episode.
And of course, you got your Dimitri appearance. Where do we see Dimitri?
We see Dimitri on the table to the right of the couch early on in the episode, and Dimitri is wearing a bullet hat. Like that little Myposian type of bullet hat, and what look like blue goggles. I'm not really sure what this Dimitri costume is about.
I'm a little disappointed behind the concept about this Dimitri appearance. I feel like the crew didn't really put all their into it this time. That's fine. They're not always great, but I think to complement and supplement that, we have
to make up for it
3 posts from our buddy Dimitri Sheep on Instagram.
Get out of the city!
Not 1, but 3. Maybe they tell a story. Sister, describe these posts.
Maybe they tell a story. In the first post, the location of which is marked as Sofa in Chicago.
It's almost
Chicago.
Almost your name. I thought it said
almost
Sofia.
my name. Some people have called me Sofa in my life. And this is a brilliant post. We have Dimitri Sheep very close to the television, the way we used to sit as children. On the screen is a episode of The Odd Couple.
Yeah.
Very apt and very appropriate because of it's sort of the original buddy comedy.
The original setup to all of these buddy comedy shows.
All of these buddy comedies. And on top of Dimitri is another smaller sheep upside down.
Yeah, like lying on Dimitri's back. And then that looks like a Tiffany lamp there. It's a very nice lamp.
Yes. And I think that this other sheep on Dimitri's back be sort of the metaphor for the monkey on the back?
Oh, the TV. Well, let's find out. That's 1 of 3 in 2 of 3 similar setup, except this time on the television is I Love Lucy, right?
Yes.
And the little sheep, and there's a clock in the shot, and the little sheep is at the clock, and the clock says 1:30, I'm presuming a.m. in the morning, right? And the little sheep is right looking at the clock. So that's 2 of 3, right? Then what happens? 3 of 3.
3 of 3 is just static on the TV screen, and Dimitri's with the remote watching the static on the TV screen, and the clock is there in front of the lamp, and the clock now says 5:45.
Yeah, is this so a.m.?
In the morning. Yeah. And the little baby sheep is on its side, lying on its side, fallen over in front of the
clever.
clock.
This static is triggering, though. Remember Poltergeist? This is bringing back there.
Yeah.
No, I hear voices. But fantastic, Dimitri Sheep. He gave us 3 posts that kind of told a little narrative
for this episode.
So
love
good.
Dimitri Sheep.
Good.
Dimitri Sheep, we still love you. We love you every week.
Follow at Dimitri Sheep on Instagram. That takes us to Balkyisms this episode. We got a bunch of great catchphrases and Balkyisms. One we can't figure out, though. Oh, cousin, you can read me like a brown paper bag. If you know if he's not just messing up the saying, if he's combining 2 sayings, write in. Let us know.
Yes. I broke down and cried till my eyes fell out.
That's a creepy image, too. Able to leap small children in a single bound as Superman. It's not very hard to do.
No way, Rose. Was Rose as popular in the 80s as it is now?
It must have been.
No way, Rose.
Rose. And then I've got that TV turkey off my back. Yes, he does. Yeah. Don't be ridiculous. Never said.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
They didn't get a chance to say.
They didn't get a chance. They had too much else to say. Other things, other common catchphrases that we know and love in this episode include, the first time that we hear Lydia say Larry. But that's going to come back.
Yeah. Larry, I like Larry when Larry goes, jerk.
Yeah, jerk. Balky saying, let me get this straight. Yeah. And then what was the question?
I don't know. What was the question?
Balky saying, I don't think so. And you tricked Balky and ha!
And then Larry's wrong. And then other running jokes. Larry distracts Balky's attention by saying, "Oh, look, there's Gumby. You tricked Balky." And then again, the great running gag of Gorpley trying to insult Balky, Balky taking it literally, and Gorpley just being deflated and going,
as a compliment.
I can't even insult the guy properly.
Okay, and now we're at a very exciting part of our episode, the segment we call Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today. Particularly exciting for this episode because there's a lot to talk about, but this is the segment in which we discuss if this story was happening today, how would this episode be different?
This is what happens today. Oh my God, we're doing it and watching it right here. This is so meta. What are we talking about? Perfect Strangers on Hulu. All episodes available all the time.
Listen, it is 2021. Not only that, but we are emerging from a global pandemic, which had many of us quarantined inside our homes for many, 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 many months, and binge watching became more of a thing than ever before.
It is like a mark, a badge of honor.
I literally
now.
Watched everything.
I mean, who watched Tiger King the minute it came out? And remember how that was
20
hot for a
hours
second?
About glass blowing.
I watched the Great Pottery Throwdown.
20 hours of glass blowing on Netflix. And it was amazing.
This is what I literally go through all the time. So, to the listener, I get regular TV. I have cable TV through Xfinity, and I subscribe to 8 streaming services. Yeah. So here's the problem. All of this stuff is all incorporated like on my PlayStation. I spend my entire evening jumping from platform to platform and just scrolling through things that are out and never actually picking a thing. Nothing ever gets watched because it's so overwhelming. I'm like, oh, I got to add this to my watch list.
I'm the opposite of that.
Oh my God.
I will pick a thing and then I have to watch all of it before either sleeping or switching to another thing.
Yeah,
I have to watch all of it.
Yeah.
And I wonder how I get anything else done because I feel like I'm just watching stuff all the time. But it's become like a strategic time management thing. Like I'll watch while I'm doing something else, or I'll watch while I'm, like I'll take breaks to watch, or I'll watch over lunch, or I'll watch while I'm walking outside. It's just
and you can like start watching on the TV, pick it up on your laptop, pick that up on the iPad, then finish it up on the phone when you're walking around, pick it up right where you left off. It's available everywhere. The cable idea of cable TV is it's interesting. I don't know if it's outdated, but for a long time, because of cord cutting movements and there's websites on how to cut the cord and save money, cable TV is kind of in a slow death downward spiral right now. And I'm predicting it might go away completely. But now, that's what I thought. Now I changed my mind. It's what I think is going to happen. And it's just cyclical. This is what's funny. You have all these streaming services, right? And now they release shows all at once or once a week, or they'll drop the whole season. So there's no time slots. There's no scheduling. What I thought was going to happen, and it's kind of happening, is like you have to start bundling these things back together and selling them as packages, just like they sell cable TV. And then at some point, one of these streaming network executives is going to think they have a brilliant idea. And I've seen this start to happen. They're going to be like, oh, what if we just play the show during a certain hour at night, and that's the only time you can watch it, and boom, we've circled back and you've invented TV. Yes, that is what's going to happen. This is exactly because they're going to think they're all hipster and like, oh, let's not make it available all the time.
It's going to be so hipster throwback.
Like, you just invented TV again, you idiot.
All right. Let's imagine we were making this episode today, right? How would Larry's character, how would you break someone's binge watching? You would get one of those apps that like blocks out all your passwords or blocks out those sites and you can't see it for like, how do parents control their children?
The parental controls now actually work really well.
Or you cut like screen time. You take all the screens away. You turn the Wi-Fi off.
You turn the
Wi-Fi off.
That is the equivalent to taking the TV and putting it in the
But you still have your
box.
phone with 5G, but you
turn the Wi-Fi off. Yeah. And also, I think instead of TV, like, everyone's found themselves in a YouTube hole where you just get lost. So I think Balky would be addicted to YouTube, but he'd be learning things.
Oh, yeah, and he'd be going down crazy rabbit holes.
Like either get all conspiracy theorists, or he would want to start his own channel a Maposian cooking channel or a movie trailer reaction channel. That would be
Balky
hilarious.
would totally have his own YouTube channel.
Yes, he would. So, you could have a lot of fun with this.
You could have a lot of fun remaking this story today.
But the binge, the addiction is, I feel like it's still kind of there. It's just on your schedule
for sure.
more, though. You know,
and it's more like accepted. Like couch potatoes are like a thing now. Who cares? Everybody binge watches.
People will be like, "You mean you haven't binged all episodes of Game of Thrones? What's the matter with you?"
Yeah.
You know, you're like, you can't talk. You can't be part of this conversation. You haven't watched Game of Thrones. I'm like, I got to watch 80 hours of Game of Thrones.
You don't have to be a couch potato anymore. You could do this like literally on your Peloton or whatever.
Yeah. No, and a lot of people, they'll stream while they're on the treadmill or do an exercise. Peloton split screen where the guy's yelling at you on one side and the other side, it's like Silver Spoons and Brady Bunch. That'd be great.
Game of Thrones. Yeah. Peloton, Game of Thrones.
Good stuff. No Balky duds this week. Sorry, listener. Rainey says should we see Flags of the World and the Godiva?
I saw Godiva, yeah.
Nothing spectacular, but bunch of shout outs.
And Trapper Keeper.
Oh, we got Trapper Keeper, Flags of the World, and Godiva. Add that to the spreadsheet, Rainey, Trapper Keeper check. We do have lots of shout outs and comments from our listener cousins about this episode.
Yeah. So we have our cousin John Adama back again saying, Cable, this was officially the most outdated episode ever or yet. Okay. And he wonders, was couch potato really an unfamiliar term or just a way to explain it to the audience? I think it was probably just a way to explain it to the audience.
I remember there would be news reports, like the big scary, is your child turning into a couch potato? It could ruin their lives. Tune in tonight to find out if your child... But they would use this term couch potato, so everybody knew it. But but
having Larry not know and be like couch potato was just like a way to explain it. John also points out that it's the second "It's a Wonderful Life" joke in as many weeks.
Zuzu's Petals. That was the other one.
Yeah, Zuzu's Petals. And this is an interesting question that John asks. He says, I get the TV addiction, but why would he immediately start eating junk food? What happened to the Meposian diet?
I have an answer. This is the
advertising.
Yes, this is the subliminal advertising place. Listen, if you watch...
Anybody who's ever tried to lose weight in this country knows this. You got to walk away from the TV because
one burger
it makes you
commercial after another.
Donuts, ice cream, cheesecake, everything.
Saturday morning cartoons. Why do you think you wanted to eat cereal? There was nothing but cereal commercials, one after another.
Right.
Telling you, go get cereal right now and come back. Right. It happens. So now, if they had commercials about health food, would it be different? I don't know.
You don't get it as much when you're streaming, when you're binging a show, but if you're on a platform with ads, you'll see some food commercials still.
Oh, yeah, they get me hungry. Cousin Evelyn says, Balky went from never having seen color TV to being introduced to cable and satellite dishes. You've come a long way, baby. Yep. That guy would just love Netflix. Yeah, he would not, his head would explode. And then Cousin Evelyn also commenting on the flip early in the episode. She says, I watched the bit where Bronson Pinchot flips over Marklin Baker about 10 times, and I do not understand how they pulled that off. Marklin Baker didn't squat to get a good jump, and the whole thing was absolutely seamless, almost cartoonish. How did they do that? Talk about anti-gravity the best. Nice callback.
Yep.
But yeah, great light flip. He's light on his feet.
That's a very good observation. Cousin Evelyn also writes, this is the point in the series where Bronson Pinchot starts doing an increasing number of impressions. Very entertaining. Pay attention moving forward in episodes. They get funnier and funnier. Whoa. My personal favorite is coming up in To Be or Not To Be episode. Okay, Cousin Evelyn.
Yeah.
No spoilers, please.
Yeah, no,
but thank you for pointing that out.
I'm going to look out for that impression. And then Cousin Richard
Cousin Richard?
Yeah, Cousin Richard. He's the listener. He's getting involved. Cousin Richard says, this is a great episode because now Larry was helping Balky. Well, Balky was always offering sage advice to Larry. This is one of those times when Balky needed help because since there was no cable TV in Mepos, he succumbs to its power. And in the end, needs Larry's help, which Larry did a great job doing. Good point.
Finally giving back, Larry.
We've had a string of Balky helping Larry every episode, getting him out of a jam.
And finally, we have a comment from Cousin Pam that kind of addresses what Cousin Evelyn was saying earlier about the flip. And Cousin Pam writes, you can see Mark Linn-Baker brace himself on the sofa arm and propel himself over, but it sure was a smooth move between him and Bronson. Absolutely agree. Imran and I were, just before starting this recording, we watched it over a few times. You do see him put his hand on there, but there's really
there's no
muscle movement. No. There's no push. It's very smooth. Evelyn is right. He doesn't squat. He doesn't ramp up to it.
And you don't expect it. It just comes out of nowhere.
Weird, complete 360, very smooth flip, but you're wondering where the power for that flip is coming
And I don't know who is doing how much Bronson Pinchot is actually helping him do it in that position. I feel like he can't do much.
So. Yeah.
It's all MLB just popping over. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing before we peace out. I do have a recommendation, and it's quite appropriate, especially with all the television references in this episode. For you, Sophia, and the listener, CNN has been doing these television documentary series about different aspects of TV, 6-episode series. They're very good. They already did one called The History of Late Night, 6 episodes, and it was all about the rise of late night TV and talk shows. Fantastic, fascinating. They started a new one, and this is very appropriate to our listeners. It's called The History of the Sitcom.
Get out of the city!
There's 2 episodes out, a third one. By the time this airs, there'll be probably 4 or 5 of the 6 out. But the first 2 episodes talked a lot about the shows we talked about in this episode and their role in history. And the first episode is about family and sitcoms.
Oh, wow.
The second one is actually about sex and sitcoms and kind of the racy side of the sitcom. And the third one is about friends and sitcoms. And it has everybody from the early 50s shows to modern sitcoms, interviews with everyone.
Oh, we definitely have to watch that.
Oh, my God, it's so good. I watched the first 2 episodes.
I'm thinking even special episode of our podcast.
History of the Sitcom is fantastic. I've learned a lot of things already. I'm watching to see if Perfect Strangers gets a mention. So far, not yet. But the Friends one, which just aired today, may have.
And guess what I'm going to be binge watching tonight?
History of the Sitcom. You can watch three episodes. Yeah, it's very good.
Thank you for that. I definitely will dive into that as soon as we're done recording this. Listeners, if you are enjoying us, join us again next week when we have a little breaking and entering and hanging out on window ledges.
A little B&E. A little B&E. You know,
a little B&E and window ledges.
They do a lot of illegal things on this show. I'm noticing. A lot of things that get them in trouble with the law. But that's why we love the cousins.
All righty. Well, that's it for this episode of Dance of Joy. If you are still with us and you want us to keep going, then get in touch. Visit us at danceofjoypod.com. That is our website. There you can find all the links for where to listen to this podcast on all the podcast apps, where you can like and subscribe and rate and review. You can also find all of our social media links on that website, and that will let you get in touch with us through our socials or old school email, danceofjoypod@gmail.com. Or if you'd rather just speak with your voice, you can do that too. There's a button on the bottom right of the website. You can leave us a voice message. But most importantly, what is the most important thing, brother?
You have to eat your vegetables.
What is the second most important thing, brother?
Share this show with a friend. Look, we're dissecting a sitcom. We're studying sitcom formats, and we just
television history.
Yes, it's nostalgia, and we picked our favorite show, and I'm sure you know someone who it's their favorite show, too. Share the show with them. We would appreciate it. Until next time, listener, thanks for listening. Now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy. Die, 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 die. Hey, 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 hey.